Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I want to introduce you tonight to Anna Oliver. She is a real estate broker with an organization called The Agency. There's an interesting story about Netflix show and other things that Anna's going to tell us a little bit about in regards to her firm. But she's going to talk tonight about the real estate market, what's going on in Toronto, and some suggestions that she's got for all of us in regards to real estate brokers, the market, timing, etc. Anna, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us again. So you've got an interesting personal story because you were in the Atlantic coast, and then you came and you started all over again in Toronto,
Yes,
right?
I did. I started my real estate career in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I decided to take a chance on the Toronto market in 2008. So I came here with optimistic dreams and came here, and unfortunately wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So here I am now, 14 years later.
And you specialize in a specific area in Toronto or all over or what?
You will see my name pop up everywhere. So I'm a generalist. So you'll see me as far west as Oakville, as far north right now as King City. So I'm all over the GTA area.
Okay. And I'm going to want to hear a little bit more about this Netflix show and The Agency and stuff like that in a couple of minutes, and some of your suggestions on what to look at. But what everyone is talking about is, what's happening in the market. Is it a slowdown? Is it a bust? Is it a bubble that's bursting? Is it a time to sell? Is it a time to buy? What's your sense of things?
Well, one, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict what's going to happen, but what I can tell you is people are still buying, people are still selling, people are still getting some good deals. Some people are doing very well on the sale of their homes, and we're still seeing fluidity in the market. It's just not as aggressive or as robust as we saw at the beginning of the year, which was unrealistic in terms of how many offers, list price, sell price. And now we're seeing a bit more of a balanced market. But having said that, I saw a few places selling multiple offers last week with maybe not hundreds of thousands over their list price, but a good price. And so the sky is not falling. It's just a matter of managing expectations at this point.
So, we hear, numbers like a 46% decline in volume. You're not seeing that in price, though.
No, I'm not seeing 46% decline in price. I am still seeing a shortage of new listings coming out. So there is still a lack of inventory. And the most encouraging thing I have seen is the homes that have been listed. So the days on market that we see, those homes are now starting to sell. So a few months ago, or the beginning of the year, even in 2021, those homes typically would have had a shorter market time. They would have been listed and sold within days. Now we're seeing longer market times, but they're still getting good prices, which is encouraging.
So what do you think the price decline is? You're suggesting there's no price decline, or it's a reasonable price decline, or what?
It depends. So what's challenging is it's not necessarily the price. The price hasn't necessarily declined. What we are seeing is how the listing agents are listing it. So a typical strategy in the Toronto market is to list low. So if you wanted $1 million for your home, you would see it listed for, say, like $799 or $899. So if you use that number, you're saying like, oh, it sold for 25% or 20% over the list price. Now we're seeing properties maybe listing where they want to be and selling below the list price. So now we're being a bit more realistic, knowing that there may not be that urgency of buyer, the bidding war. So we're seeing homes listed at $1 million and they're selling for a little bit less. They're not selling for 46% less, but they're selling for maybe 5-6% of the list price. So
real estate agents that were trying to create these bidding wars by sort of lowballing the list price and trying to get a whole bunch of people bidding hundreds of thousands of dollars over lists. That's not happening anymore. So you're saying agents are doing a better job of listing a price that really is truly the price.
Yes, and I think that's better for the consumer. I think it's a better environment to negotiate for homes, for buyers and for sellers, because the expectations are more there. They're more realistic. So when you see a home that's listed for $1 million and you know that that's sort of where they want, or maybe there's an opportunity to negotiate down, which, like, as opposed to if a home was listed, say, for $1 million, well, they may want 1.3 or 1.4. So I think actually the list price, what I am happy to see is that now it's a bit more realistic and people have an opportunity to negotiate now that we didn't see. So we're seeing finance clauses come in, we're seeing appraisals coming in, we're seeing the option to, inspect. And what I really like is buyers have an opportunity to now maybe go back and think about their biggest purchase of their lives without being backed into a corner. So they're able to make more educated decisions. And we're seeing buyers kind of take their time now. But what I do like, what I am seeing is they are still coming out and offering for the right price, for the right places and the right prices. And we're able to negotiate. So, which I think is a better way to buy and sell a home.
Okay, so the numbers that I've seen are
Yes.
that sort of the suburban markets like Brantford and Kitchener and places like that are down low double digits, like 12 to 15%, and Toronto's down like 8 to 10%. You're saying that's not happening?
Not everywhere, no. Like in certain pocket areas, we are seeing, declines in some ways, but the best way to look at it is the sale prices didn't accelerate as high as they did. So beginning of the year, we were seeing increases like 25, 30%. That's unrealistic. But if you go year over year to year, it's far more stabilized. So you have to take those 2 months out of the equation where people were seeing unrealistic gains. And I can't really speak to the Kitchener suburban market. Unfortunately, that's just not where my practice. I go far, but I don't go that far. So
Right.
what
Okay.
I have seen in the Toronto market is it's a little bit better. So it's a bit stronger. But there's always the anomalies. Like I'll see a home listed. We're not always privy to the motivation of the seller. So we may see a home that's listed, that seller may have to sell and take any offer. So we'll see those numbers like, oh my God, that was a great deal. But like I said, I saw several $5 million, $6 million homes sell within 2 days last week, and they went close to their list price, or if not a little bit higher, because they checked all the boxes. So we are still seeing that. They just don't make that great of headlines, I guess, when you see like a robust market like that. We are still seeing great movement in the luxury market, which is considered 2 to 3 million prices. But there are some great deals to be had too. So
fascinating. We're going to take a break and come back in just 2 minutes with Anna Oliver of the agency and talk a little bit more about what's happening in the marketplace today in real estate in Greater Toronto Area. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're talking real estate tonight with Anna Oliver of the agency, and I want to hear more about this organization because I haven't heard a lot about it. And you say there's a Netflix series that I should be watching on it. But I wanted to talk. You said that the luxury market is still strong, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that because you just posted the other day a property that's $14.5 million.
yes.
Really?
Yes, it is absolutely one of the most spectacular homes I've had the privilege of seeing and representing. So this home is located in King City. It's over 15,000 square feet. It's on 2 acres. We have 9 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, and the design and the inspiration of the home came from 5-star luxury resort. So the owners really wanted to make people want to stay in their home. And the pièce de résistance for this home is the gorgeous indoor swimming pool, steam room, sauna. So it really has this beautiful spa-like feature. And the thing about homes too is it's not the details you see, it's the details that go behind. And the level of detail and the meticulousness of this home it's second to none. Like some of the bathrooms alone, it took about 6 months just to plan the mosaic tile on the wall. Everything is lined up perfectly, and really it was designed with every detail into consideration. So it's a real pleasure to be able to showcase it, and we've been having a lot of fun marketing and showcasing it. So
who's buying a $14.5 million home?
You would be surprised. We've actually had some good activity, people from out of country, out of province, and or blended families, or you never know, maybe a lottery winner or somebody. It's definitely not a busy a home, but you never know when that one buyer checks the boxes. And you know, with the location in King City is a wonderful community. And I did a follow-up video that I'll be releasing just on the benefits of King City and what a great community it is too. So it's been a lot of fun. So hopefully I'll be able to share that that one's sold soon.
I want to go. I want to go on an open house tour of it. Sounds fantastic.
You won't want to leave, Ryan. It's beautiful.
I probably don't. You posted as well another interesting post about some of the things you learned from long time ago when you just were studying for your license.
Yes. So it's been actually just over, I'm in my 20th year of selling, and I was reflecting back on the changes that we've seen in the industry. And what the biggest one I would say that, like I remember, like I was yesterday, like it was yesterday, I had a client with me in the car. She said, I sent you an email. And I said, okay, this was in 2004. And I said, oh, I'll have to go back to the office and check my email and I'll get, she's like, no, 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 Anna, you need this thing. It's called a BlackBerry. And she worked for RIM at the time. And she said, this device will change your life and you'll never look back. Well, it has, because now we're on all the time. Like we have this level of accessibility through technology that, you know, we're kind of on call. And so that was a change. And, you know, not to date myself too much, but you know, we used to fax our offers in, and now we have DocuSign and digital signatures, and everything happens at such a quick pace that sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to be able just to keep up. And that was a big change. And the element of the social media, we've in the last few years, I find realtors we've been kind of catapulted into this social media, like these like almost TV production like videos and trends and everything. Well, you know, at the end of the day, we're there to negotiate and represent our clients, but this social media element has really changed quite a bit. And, you know, Facebook and, you know, there's so many different channels. So, you know, before people could email and call you, and now, you know, you can text, like direct message, Facebook, Instagram, everything. So we're accessible all the time. And the other thing is that fine line between your private life and your professional life too. So there's, you know, I like to share a lot of, you know, like stories. I like to motivate other brokers in the business, in the industry, and to elevate. And, you know, I don't share that much, but some of my colleagues and friends do share a lot in their personal life. So there's an opportunity for, you know, clients to get to know you before that face-to-face meeting. And, you know, sometimes I'll have people stop me on the street because they recognize from the video. So it's kind of cool, but, you know, there's definitely some changes that I've noticed, and mostly to do with technology. And I'm not always the quickest one to catch up with the trends and the tech. So bear with me with those.
You post a lot, and it is sort of high fashion, high glamour, high video quality.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of time goes into it. I'm lucky I have a great team, but I also recognize my strengths. My strengths are negotiation and showcasing the properties. And I have a wonderful team to make me look as glamorous and high fashion behind the scenes. And I have help with the social media aspect too. And I have a lot of fun doing it. It's just, you know, some of these videos we're filming for 6-7 hours a day and everything. So
do you have a video crew following you around all the time?
Not all the time, but I definitely have some great ones on call. But, you know, and again, like just that technology has changed too. We're able to, you know, produce, like film and edit a video very quickly. And I can usually have the final product within about 24 hours. So everything is a lot faster. So I don't know if I'm just getting a bit older, the technology is faster.
So, you know, you're obviously very attractive individual. You're in a lot of the shots. That's kind of interesting. Are you selling you, or are you selling the house, or what?
Well, it's mostly, I think when you share a little bit, it's almost like a calling card for, you know, people get to see your style, and maybe I like to show a little bit of my personality. So it's it's an opportunity to showcase both, you know, kind of my style. And my style may not be for everyone. I have, you know, some people who like the more glamorous and kind of like that high heel kind of look. And I have some colleagues of mine who look more, you know, more casual, I like to say. So it's something for everyone. And it's basically like a portfolio of me and what you can expect when you meet me face to face. So,
well, it's high fashion, it's high glamour, it's high quality. Sounds interesting. Tell me about the agency.
So the agency, our founder, Maurizio Umansky, some people would know, he's married to one of the original housewives, Kyle Richards. And he and Kyle both got their real estate license in the 90s, and he had a very successful career with Hilton Highland or Highland Hilton. I always get the names. So another brokerage, and he opened up the agency 8 years ago, and he wanted it to be kind of a different atmosphere. So we have 10 commandments for the agency, and our number one rule is no, and I don't know if you can say this on radio, no a-holes. And basically it's like kind of a camaraderie. So it's like have fun, always be like kind of striving for more. And it's a great culture. So our head office is in Beverly Hills, and we've gone into more of an international market worldwide. So we have offices in Canada, so Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, and then most major cities in the US. We also see like in the Grand Cayman, the Bahamas, Amsterdam. So we're expanding. So it's been very exciting. So they've been in Toronto and then GTA. We have offices in Oakville and the surrounding areas for the last 2 years. And it's just been great. It's a great company. Again, it targets an international market. And I think getting back to the advancements of technology, it's kind of worked to our benefit. So oftentimes it's, we're collaborating with our colleagues and our clients internationally now. So it's a good brand to be with. So
it's very different strategy than a lot of the other brokerage or agencies that appear to be, very local oriented and,
yes.
and Canadian only, maybe. What do you think of this, the difference in the strategy?
I think it's a matter, it shows that you never know where your audience is going to be. And there's a certain level of curiosity. So one thing that really attracted me to the brand, because I actually I was with Sotheby's for 10 years, another international company. A lot of my clients over the years have come from abroad or from out of province, out of city. So they recognize that brand that way. So I think so the best way to look at it is you have kind of the best of both worlds. So I have kind of the local knowledge, but global exposure. So I can bring that to the table that might be a little bit different. And the benefit now is the Netflix show that just came out about 2 weeks ago, Buying Beverly Hills. Well, now everybody's starting to recognize the agency, which is only, I think, a benefit to clients who, you never know where that buyer is coming from. They're scrolling online, the agency pops up, and then, they see Anna Oliver and her wonderful $14 million listing. So you just never know. So I think that, the consumer, we've gone to a global branding and a global marketing. And I think being associated with an international company has worked out quite well for me. But not to be mistaken, like Remax is international, Keller Williams. So a lot of the companies that we associate locally are actually owned internationally as well. It's just some companies or brokerages promote it a bit more.
Right. So tell me a little bit about this Netflix show. What is it all about?
So Buying Beverly Hills. So our founder, Maurizio Umansky, and his daughters run the agency. So it's a behind the scene look at some beautiful Beverly Hills properties and the ins and outs of the brokerage. And, there's been other shows on Netflix like Selling Sunset. There's been other successful shows, $1 million listing. So it's just another kind of spin-off. And the benefit of Buying Beverly Hills is Maurizio's connection with Kyle Richards and the Real Housewives. So I watched the show. I liked it. I think they did a great representation. It showed a certain camaraderie, not as catfight and dramatic as maybe some of the other shows, but and you see some of these beautiful properties, and it's just a privilege to be associated with a company like this. So.
And are you selling in Beverly Hills yourself, or
I am not selling in Beverly Hills. I've actually never been to Beverly Hills. No, but I will gladly refer anybody there.
Well, it sounds like it's a different kind of a company and a different opportunity for you and some brokers, and the Netflix spinoff or connection probably is attractive as well.
It is. And you know what? It's a great conversation started too. Actually, since the show came out about 2 weeks ago, I've been approached by about 10 people. Like, hey, I saw the show. Is it ever going to come to Toronto? Are you in it? Anything? So it's a good conversation starter. And at the end of the day, that it can never hurt us, hopefully, especially if the show is good and is well received. And, it's not for everybody. Not everyone appreciates the behind the scenes of real estate. They had enough, but there's a big market for it enough that I think rumor is they've picked up a second season. So
I'll have to check it out.
You will.
When
it's
are they going to come and do Buying Toronto with Anna Oliver?
I'm not sure yet. We'll have to negotiate those terms.
I think it's a good suggestion. You should make it.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break for some messages and be back in 2 minutes with Anna Oliver. And we're going to go a little bit more through some of the things you need to think about today in the current marketplace, because it is a little bit of a potentially more volatile marketplace, or at least potential of volatility given increases in interest rates. And so I want to get some advice from Anna about what are the things that you can do? And we talked about inspections, we talked about financing conditions, we talked about being able to take your time to make those right decisions. And so we're going to take a break and then come back and chat a little bit more about that. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Anna Oliver, who is a real estate broker with an organization called The Agency, which is an interesting group. I haven't heard much about it, but I guess connected in with something called Selling in Beverly Hills, and you market internationally as well as locally. And Anna, you are selling a $14.5 million home in King City, but also I've seen some more reasonably priced homes in Toronto that you're selling.
Yes, I sell everything. I help everyone. I think my least expensive home I ever sold was a $1,200 mini home trailer way back when, and I sold everything in between. So I basically look at luxury as a service, not a price point. And it doesn't matter. I love telling people. I actually had this conversation yesterday with a gentleman. His parents live in Mississauga and they're downsizing. And he's like, well, I know you only sell these luxury homes. I'm like, no, I sell every home. I said, I help everyone. I sell homes just like yours. And I actually do help a lot of downsizers, upsizing, everything, investors, relocation, death, divorce. So yeah, I love it all. And I love helping as much as I can.
Now, we've talked already about some of the high fashion and the glamour and the videos and things like this. And
Yes.
You've got these fancy shoes. What are they called with the red soles?
Oh, the Christian Louboutin. There's my French coming out. So yes.
But yet you actually lived in a car at one point.
Yes, nothing. My success has not been handed to me. I have worked very hard. I come from a military family. I grew up in Kingston, Ontario, and I always had big goals and big ambition. And I decided to start in real estate in Halifax. I sort of a whim. I looked at what Nova Scotia had to offer, and I had two sisters that lived there. So I got my license there, and I had a very successful run. But I decided that, I had bigger dreams and it was time to go to Toronto. And I was probably cocky, as I have been described maybe in the past, and thought it was going to be easy. And unfortunately, it wasn't. I moved here. I moved here for a relationship. Relationship didn't go well. It took 6 months for my license to transfer. And it was humbling. It was very, very, very difficult. And when my relationship split up, I was working on a team with Remax at the time. And my personal life was affecting everything. And, I got dumped from my team for underperforming. And I actually share a story about that. It was probably one of the worst days of my life because nobody's ever described me as underachiever, almost like dead weight, and how humbling it was. And, but I had no choice. I was in between places. I was living in and out of my car. I was showering at the gym. And, but again, they had this whole adage that I don't always love, but like the fake it till you make it. But I also had bills to pay. So I was working as a mystery shopper because I could, the gig culture, like this was before Uber. I probably would have been an Uber driver back in the day. I worked on demolition crews because nobody else would hire me. And
you worked on demolition crews.
Yeah, yeah. I had a friend of mine from the dog park who was in construction. He's a great friend of mine. And he's like, we need an extra set of hands. And so I worked on the demolition crews for a few weeks to a few months while I was trying to make a go of it real estate wise. So, I remember those days very well. And I also remember the times where, do I put gas in my car? Or do I buy groceries? And but I kept working and nothing was too big or too small. So when I look at some of the success, like I have to say it's pretty pretty fun when I get access and I get asked to list and go into these beautiful $14 million homes. Like, my God, like that in my mind, that would have bought the whole city of Kingston at some point. So it's I'm very, very happy. And, but I never take it for granted either. And I've been lucky that people believed in me because, not having any connections or contacts, and I didn't even know Toronto that well. So, I really put a lot of extra time into it. So it's nice to look back at it. So,
So how does someone come from living in a car to having, $1,000 shoes?
well, that was 14 years ago, and I'm a big deal finder too. So, I've had some good success, and living in my car was like I was in between places, so it was basically I was waiting for one place to be ready and another place, and I was like couch surfing and everything. I wasn't homeless,
You weren't
so
a homeless person. Okay.
I was not a homeless person. No, I went through a rough patch of I like to joke of no fixed address for a little bit, and but I worked very, very, very hard, and yeah. And then the thing too is like those shoes last a long time, so that's my justification. So when you invest in good quality, they last longer. So yeah.
Okay, but you said that you've had a couple of bad relationships.
Yes.
And obviously living in a car, even if it was just in between homes for a while, is challenging.
It is.
What is the key to your success then? Because it seems like you've got this special resilience or something.
Well, one, I'm extremely competitive and I've set pretty high goals for myself, and I've never wanted to settle in terms of, I could always be better. I could always be learning. So that's kind of fueled me. I've always been pretty much on my own. So when you're a single woman, I don't have the luxury of, splitting expenses or splitting or sharing anything. I've never had anyone say, "Hey, it's okay. You don't need to sell anything this month because your mortgage payment." So I've always been fiercely independent. I also have people who rely on me. I have full-time staff that work with me that I have to make sure they're taken care of. And at the end of the day, I find this passion for helping people. And I really, really, that's probably why I never got married or, don't have a family, because my clients, like giving that level of service to clients and taking care of them in their stressful times has always fueled me. And I always feel like I could always be doing a little bit more. Maybe that's the detriment to why I never got married or anything like that. So, or I shouldn't say I was married once, but it was a long time ago, so never got married again. And but when you're on your own and you rely, and like I said, I don't come from a real estate family. I didn't grow up here. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody, and I would just basically I gave myself no option for failure, and I still see a lot of great opportunity ahead too. So that's what fuels. And
so you've got this passion, this drive, this competitive spirit that comes from somewhere.
yes.
Well, that's great.
I do.
Now,
Yes.
Can you find balance? You say you probably wouldn't make a great spouse because you're working all the time and you don't want to have kids because you're working all the time. Can someone that wants to be very successful in real estate business have any balance and have a life outside of real estate?
I know a lot of great agents and a lot of great brokers who do, and I really look up to them because I think they started off maybe with a different boundary and different parameters to work from, because I was always kind of trying to work harder to get ahead. When you have like, when your income drops 95% and you have to like make ends meet and you have to live, I think that fuels it. So my priorities were a bit different. If I could go back in time, I wish I would have made more of time, more of effort to kind of establish more boundaries and more work-life balance. But like realistically, I always loved it. So they say, if you love what you do, like, not to sound like a cliche or anything, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I can honestly say that, like, I still love it. And, passing up on dinners out sometimes, that was okay because I'd rather go out and show great homes or help somebody. So, do I wish I could have a bit more? Yes. And I think the other thing too is now with people being more, I find now people really aim for more work-life balance.
Yeah.
But I also, when I interview people, having that quality time, having evenings and weekends off, that just wasn't a reality for me when I started. And, you're on call, and that's something that I just know. But I was also the person in university who worked 3 jobs as well and took a full course load. So it's just very good for me, but it could be lonely sometimes too. Like I remember my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I left early because it was in one of those lean years, and I had a family that wanted to buy a condo, and I invested a lot of time and a lot of effort. I actually shared this story too. Left my parents' anniversary early to show them condos, and then one day they just stopped answering my calls, and turns out they bought behind my back, bought privately, and it was to a place. It almost brings tears to my eyes because I sacrificed a lot. I think I showed them probably 80 homes within that
80,
1 month.
80 homes.
80 offers, worked very, very hard. And, I'm embarrassed to say, like, I needed that sale. Like, I needed that check. And, I sacrificed my own family for it. And, what I always found interesting is he was a father of 3 independent daughters, and the fact to be so disregarded and just basically dismissed like that. I hope he's listening sometimes, because, I was a kid trying to start over, and I had, I invested a lot. So I had lots of stories like that. But then I had these gifts from God, that I had people who remembered me from an open house from 5 years ago and will call me out of the blue and everything. So it's really that balance. And it's kind of exciting because every day is a new day, and you get that phone call like, oh, wow, like, oh, they remembered my open house and they wanted to use me, or I helped somebody they knew. And then other days it's not so fun, and you're struggling to kind of stay. And that's what I think. I always look forward to those gifts from God, or like I call them miracles. I'm like, that was a gift, that was a miracle. So it makes those bad times. But that one in particular was when I was first
Must have
starting
hurt.
out.
There's no question.
Yeah, I hurt very much, very, very much. And and you come from this mindset too. You never want to burn a bridge, but sometimes you definitely want to stand up for yourself and
And fire
you
a
know,
customer.
yeah, and then I have just wrote another piece. I don't know if it's come out yet on, biting your tongue. Sometimes we have to bite our tongue in order to, get the deal done, and we have to bite our tongue for a client's best interest. And we're dealing with different personalities, so sometimes, I maybe would have established a different boundary with certain people, but at the end of the day, like, I also have to help, and people are going through other situations. So I think I've been very fortunate. I've been able to adapt, and I think because of my own experiences and with my parents being in the military and moving, I understand how stressful it is. And sometimes, the realtor, the broker, we're the psychiatrist, the marriage counselor, the kids counselor, the party planner, everything, because we like to help as much as possible. So
Yeah.
that's where.
Yeah, I can imagine. And let's switch to the current market. What you were saying is that in the current market, you can do inspections. I was talking to people a year ago that said you couldn't even put an inspection in as a condition. So tell me, what are some of the things that you're guiding people today in regards to buying properties or listing properties that may be something you could do today that you couldn't have done in the heady, frothy market of a year ago?
Well, the first thing, like, first things first is you always want, like, the broker could give you information, but I always recommend you have to talk to your mortgage broker, because the rates have been increasing more drastically. So mortgage broker, you need to understand what you can afford, what you're comfortable paying, because sometimes we'll be pre-approved, or I'll see people pre-approved for an amount that ultimately might leave them house poor. So, and then the other thing is having a good home inspection, understanding some of the homes, like, they may look pretty and may look nice, but you want to understand what you're buying too, because again, with the interest rates being higher, cost of everything being higher. So going in with as much knowledge. And the other thing is having advice of a lawyer. So what I have seen recently are sometimes people are buying maybe before they sold, and maybe not, that shouldn't have been recommended, because now they're stuck carrying 2 properties. So if they have the right advice from a mortgage broker, their financial advisor, hey, at least, like, this is how much money you should have, this is how much you should spend, and having a better realistic approach. And we're seeing some closings may not be happening as scheduled. So we're seeing people maybe they need to get bridge financing. They need to carry two homes. So really, really understanding the finances before, because before we would see offers on homes, people would waive financing. They'd waive the home inspection. They might have a home to sell. Now I'm seeing more people list and sell their home, have an idea what they can afford, and then go and buy. So, and the other thing that I've noticed too, or some offers or some homes are sold conditionally, which we very seldom saw last year.
Conditional on what?
Conditional on financing, conditional on home inspection. And another clause that we're seeing is conditional on the sale of the purchaser's property. So with the escape clause, that is something we had not seen in Toronto in a very long time, common in slower markets. And the other thing too, with the interest rates going up, we're seeing the sellers are willing to do a vendor take back mortgage. So
really?
The buyers
have vendor
yes,
take back mortgages
more
now.
of those too. Yeah. So it's interesting to see kind of the what was old is now new. A few of my properties, taking a little bit longer to sell. I had one in May that we brought out, and we tested the price. The showings were few and far between. 3 other comparable units came up in the same building, same price, and we just couldn't get the price we wanted. So I advised them to take it off the sale market and rent it out, because they could afford to keep it, let the other one sell, but at least they're carrying their costs. So sometimes, the broker, we have to advise in the client's best interest, and renting sometimes is a better interest, even though, the investment to get the home ready to go on the market was about $18,000 of my personal money.
Right.
It made more sense for them to sell. So that's where it's changed a bit. And then, I had a home listed since beginning of September. We had 4 offers, and like they're all pretty good offers, but we held out for the right offer, and my clients were able to make almost $100,000 more than they would if they took the first offer. So sometimes that first offer isn't the best when it's about being patient. But I think we're seeing conditions on appraisals, we're seeing conditions on financing. Buyers are going back to do an inspection. So sellers, at the beginning of the year, they were a little bit more confident. But now it's far more stressful, and the buyers definitely have more opportunity to negotiate. They can shop around, as I mentioned, and they have an opportunity to really know what they're buying, which is, I think, great.
With the interest rate increases, are people having challenges either getting appraisals that come in at the value that they've bought at, and or actually been able to close with increased mortgage payments?
It's been challenging. It definitely has changed the fabric of what we've seen. The appraisals, we're seeing, I would say about nine times out of 10, we're seeing appraisals now, because the bank wants to make sure that the home appraises out. But again, if we go back to a smart listing agent, they know what the value is of the home, and most buyers aren't overpaying. We don't have that emotional buyer that's over buying or offering hundreds of thousands of dollars more. That's the trouble that we got into, where people are winning the home by $300,000 over the list price, but the home wasn't worth that.
Yeah.
So now we're definitely seeing that kind of change. So that's why, as contrary to popular opinion and everything, the market is actually, in my opinion, it's been quite strong. But I'm used to the slower market times, and it's about managing the expectations.
Manage expectations. I guess that's one of the
Yes.
secrets, setting boundaries you talked about earlier as well. So that's one of the things
Yes.
one's got to do in life. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back with Anna Oliver with some concluding comments in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're talking tonight about the real estate market. Anna Oliver is our guest. She's with an organization called The Agency. I've been trying to push her to find out if the real estate market is down and what's happening, and is there a crash and all this kind of stuff. And she's being firm that things may be slower, but this is actually still a good time to both list as well as a good time to buy. If anything, what she's saying, this is a great time to buy because you can put in financing conditions, and the appraisals are going to be something that you're going to have to get, and you can get before you close, and you can take some time to make the right decision rather than a rash decision. What else, Anna, did people have to be aware of? I heard this quote that 80% of the money in the real estate business is made by 20% of all the agents. So does that mean that some agents are really great, or frankly, they're so busy that I shouldn't bother hiring them and I should go and hire someone else?
Well, I think the best advice that I could give, I would actually maybe challenge you on that statistic. It's actually, they say about 10% of the brokers are doing about 90% of the business. And I would say that real estate's always been kind of given a black mark against it because it's considered a low barrier access career. And up until, a few like years ago, even when I was licensed, it could have been a quick way, you get your license pretty quickly. So that attracts, so basically, I think everybody knows at least one or two realtors in their immediate circle. And Uber drivers or realtors, everything. So there are a lot out there. But if you look at statistically, there's only a small percentage of us that are actually doing it professionally, full time, and treat it as a career. You have some people who still like, I cringe when I hear people say, "Oh, I do it evenings and weekends, or friends or family," and to me, I'm always surprised when people choose somebody who does it part-time, or who does it, kind of as a hobby for your biggest asset, your biggest purchase, the most, important financial decision you'll ever make. I would want the person who does it full-time. Not to disparage anybody who just kind of dabbles in it, but it's just, there's just certain levels of service and expertise and results that you get with somebody who does it full time. And now, especially with the changes of the market, you want somebody with that experience. You're paying for their expertise, their relationships, be it with other brokers, the lawyers, the mortgage brokers. So you get that experience, and they can explain intelligently what's going on in the market and manage the expectations. So if you don't have that experienced person, like, now is not the time to hire, Uncle Bob who does it once or twice a year. You want somebody who's like in the trenches, so to speak, and who knows what's happening and guide accordingly. And now is not the time to cut corners either. So, things like staging, now more than ever, your home should stand out. It should be perfect. You make it look as best as possible. And that professional minded realtor will be the one to invest in it and showcase and give you the best advice and tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to. It's very easy for the last few years to, I love it when people say the home just kind of sells itself. Well, the market was very strong and homes were selling pretty quickly. So now you need that expertise. So choose wisely and choose smartly too.
So, I think that it's easy to buy when the market is going up, and you think you're going to be, sort of buying, and it's going to be even higher a couple of months from now, and everyone else is buying, and so therefore you're sort of going with the crowd. It's more challenging to make the decision to buy when the market is either down or you're worried that it's down, but that's the right time to buy. And I think
it's the right time to buy.
And I think what you've said is, in addition to it being the right time to buy, you can do a lot of things in a slower market. Ask for a lot more things in a slower market than you would be able to in this frothy market that we had a year ago. And if you're interested in that, in regards to getting that inspection, making sure that the appraisal works, making sure that you've got the mortgage that's going to actually hold, rather than, there was an article in the Globe and Mail about how, private lending demand went up dramatically as people, couldn't actually get as much money as they had bid. And so therefore, and they didn't have the equity. And so therefore they had to go to the private market. And the private debt market was just closing down and saying, not there. And so
what I find interesting about that is, when people think the market's so hot, it's, to me, that's not the environment or the climate that I would want to buy in. This urgency, like, have to get my offer in, has to overpay, I have no rights, and overpaying. So now it's funny, there's this weird sense of urgency in the Toronto market that if somebody wants it, I want it a bit more, in this like frenzy that creates. And that's where I see kind of the downfall and like the stressfulness. So now you have an opportunity to negotiate. It's more like humane in a lot of ways. And that's when people are kind of taking a step back. I'm like, no, we have everything you wish for. You have less bidding wars. You can actually see a price and think that it's realistic. If you see $1 million, it's because they want $1 million or maybe under, not before. So this is what everybody wanted. Unfortunately, the interest rates have gone up. So it's not the perfect storm. I'm sure everybody would like this when interest rates were much lower, but you know, like there's some great opportunities there, and it's like there's great properties and great deals. But again, like I said, I saw some multiple offers last week because certain homes are just spectacular enough. They check all the boxes. They're in great school districts. They have great, you know, two-car parking, everything, and it checks boxes. But you know, other homes that were getting multiple offers and getting like aggressive prices because of the scarcity of the market and this urgency, we're very lucky and very fortunate, and I hope they've gone on to do well, the sellers who sold those homes. So, but no, I think it's a matter of perspective.
I agree, and I think this it's psychological. And when everyone else is buying, you want to buy, but that's the wrong time to buy. When everyone's selling and not a lot of people are buying, that's when you should be buying, and be the contrarian, because that's when you're going to get a good opportunity. Anyway, if people want to access your services, how do they best contact you?
My website is annaoliver.ca, and you can find me on Instagram at the Anna Oliver. And when you think of real estate, I want you to think of me.
You posted a really interesting, inspirational post about don't live with regret. You can always get another job, but you only have one life to dream and aspire to what you want.
Yes.
Do you live by that?
I do. And Barbara Corcoran is one of my, she's a phenomenal broker who really is a trailblazer. And I can relate to her stories. She went through a bad breakup early on and believed in herself. And she's gone on, you see her on Shark Tank. So definitely believe in that. And yeah, that's why I try not to share too many inspirational quotes, but I like her and I like that one.
Anna Oliver, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. You know, I do think that now is the time, if you're interested in real estate, for you to be looking, because you can be more prudent. And I think Anna's right. You got to get someone who you can trust, who you feel comfortable with, to represent you. And you know, that old adage about you always ask a busy person to do a job because they'll do a better job. And so therefore, some of these brokers that might be a bit busy are probably the ones that are busy for a reason. You know, it's that restaurant that's got the lineup that's probably got the better food than the restaurant that's completely empty. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.